And we are live. You already know who it is. My name is Mike Kyle, aka the Fantasy Vulture. I have over a decade worth of fantasy football experience, and I've continuously competed for fantasy championships over the course of the past 6 seasons. Let's make it 7 in 2020. But enough of me. I'm here for you. On today's episode of the FD Show, we are going to continue our Week 3 game recaps, breaking down every single Week 3 matchup, all through the lens of fantasy football. Up next, the Tennessee Titans taking on the Minnesota Vikings. So if you are excited for this game recap, be sure to hit that like button down below, like an open receiver downfield, and also smash that subscribe button like a power running back up the middle so you never miss a video from me. Last but not least, you can follow me on all social media platforms at FFVulture. Let's jump right into it. I'm on a roll with these. We're going to keep the energy going between the Titans and the Vikings. Let's go over to the box score here. Again, no highlights this week, and the simple reason for that is because I actually want to cover every single game this week instead of doing 80%. So, the Titans moved to 3-0, defeating the Vikings by a final score of 31-30. For the third straight week, the Titans win on a game-winning field goal. Ryan Tannehill cooled down quite a bit in this matchup after his hot start for the first 2 weeks. Tannehill, 23 completions on 37 attempts, 321 yards, and 1 interception. Derrick Henry, on the other hand, finally found his way into the end zone. 26 carries, 119 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Corey Davis stepped up a bit in the absence of A.J. Brown. Davis, 6 targets, 5 receptions for... 6 targets. Well, that carries should not be there. But 6 targets, 5 receptions for 59 yards. And Jonnu Smith also saw 8 targets, 5 receptions for 61 yards. He stepped up as well. However, we need to talk about the Vikings, and specifically Justin Jefferson. We'll get to him in just a moment, but Kirk Cousins, 16 completions, 27 pass attempts, 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Dalvin Cook, have yourself a day. 22 carries, 181 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. Adam Thielen, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 29 yards, and 1 touchdown. But Justin Jefferson, the rookie wide receiver out of LSU, the Vikings' first-round draft pick, 9 targets, 7 receptions, 175 yards, and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson had 100 receiving yards in the first half. He is the first Vikings rookie to do so since Randy fucking Moss. Alright, let's talk about this game real quick. A.J. Brown did miss this game again with a knee injury. It does sound bad. He might miss next week as well. Just something to keep an eye on if you are an A.J. Brown owner like myself. You need to have pivots for the next few weeks, it looks like. So, let's talk about this game just a little bit. I want to start off with the visiting team, the Tennessee Titans and Ryan Tannehill, who unfortunately did cool off quite a bit. After posting the first 2 weeks of games of 20 points and 26, he only comes in here with 11. And that sucked because I know a lot of people started him. He had a great matchup against this Vikings secondary, and unfortunately just didn't come through. Again, the way that this Titans offense really works is that if Derrick Henry is kind of slowish or clogging the middle, they're going to rely on that play action, and they are going to use Ryan Tannehill in that way, right? But if Derrick Henry is on fire like he was today, scoring twice and having over 115 rushing yards, they don't really need Ryan Tannehill to do all too much. Now, granted, he did still throw for over 300 yards. The interception is really the thing that hurt him, and not throwing any passing touchdowns. But it does come down to the sense of they just ran the ball in multiple times, and that is going to take away from the value of Ryan Tannehill. And that's why I still fully believe that the Tannehill-Derrick Henry stack is one of the most valuable stacks you can have, because of the fact that if Ryan Tannehill plays bad, you still got 26 points from Derrick Henry today, and it does kind of even out. So for example, right? Tannehill finished this game with 11. Derrick Henry finished this game with 26 in half-point formats. So you combine them together, you're looking at 37. So you split it. Let's just say, let's do math here. What is that? 19-19, essentially. And that's going to be good enough every single week for you to be fine with starting that stack, knowing that one of them is going to go off. And whoever goes off is likely going to negate the other player having a bad week or a down week. For example, it would have worked out perfectly this week if you played both of them in your lineup. Let's see, anything else? Khalif Raymond, wide receiver for the Titans, I didn't bring him up in this box score because nobody started him. He's not fantasy relevant in any way, shape, or form, but he did catch 3 balls and he had three receptions, 3 targets for 118 yards and a touchdown. Hang on, wait, where was that touchdown at? No, he didn't. No touchdown. Are my eyes lying to me? My eyes are lying to me. He did not have a touchdown, but he did have 118 yards receiving. Just randomly. I'm not too sure what's up with that. Not picking him up off waivers or anything. Maybe you just wait and see if this was just a 1-week wonder or if it's actually going to turn into something. Again, I didn't put him in the box score because he's not fantasy relevant. I feel like this was just a fluke game for Mr. Raymond. No disrespect. Corey Davis was fine. I was getting a lot of Corey Davis questions during my Sunday morning live stream, and I said you should probably start him. Just because of the fact that A.J. Brown is out, those targets have to go somewhere else, and I was expecting this game to be a high-scoring affair, and Tannehill was going to put points up on the board versus the Vikings defense. Unfortunately, that really wasn't the case. Davis, like I said, 5 receptions for 69 yards, only finishing with 9.5 fantasy points in half-point formats. Jonnu Smith was fine. Obviously, the touchdown didn't come, and that's one thing that I was talking about this morning. It feels like that Jonnu Smith is going to be a guy who is super valuable at the tight end position, but he's going to be very, very similar to Mark Andrews, where the majority of their points are going to come from those touchdown opportunities. He still finished with 61 yards and 5 catches, but not having that touchdown upside really did hurt Smith in this matchup. If you played him, you were probably fine, all things considered, but you would like to see him get into the end zone. Derrick Henry, I do want to talk about him just very, very briefly. I was tilting, admittedly, about Derrick Henry all week, just not being able to get into the end zone until this week. Luckily, he got in twice. But then also, it's like in week 1 he had 116 yards on the ground, and in week 2 he only had 84. But I felt like he just never had like those big explosive runs, and everything really was just 2 or 3 yard gains. And when you are rushing the ball, 30 times, those are just going to naturally add up. But seeing again him able actually to get it done and go into the end zone, another game of over 115 rushing yards, and another game of over 25 attempts. Guys, the attempt numbers that Derrick Henry has had so far this season have been 31 rush attempts, 25, and 26. The volume is still there, and as somebody who considered trying to trade Derrick Henry this week, I'm very glad I didn't, because what this game really reminded me was that you can't go away from a guy who is literally touching the ball 25 fucking times a game, right? It's guaranteed production in a way very, very similar to what Zeke Elliott does in Dallas, right? Now, obviously, they're a little bit of different styles. Zeke is a better pass catcher and can do more things that way as well. But just the premise of you're getting 2 guys who are going to touch the ball 25 times and they're going to make something happen out of it. Derrick Henry, you have to hold on to him, and this game really just proved why you had to, and why you kind of had to weather the storm, even though the yardage regression and just the touchdown regression is likely coming. Moving over to the Vikings, Dalvin Cook, bravo, another great game from him. Kirk Cousins actually played pretty well despite the 2 interceptions. Nothing of note here. Let's see. Adam Thielen again is seeing limited targets, and I don't get this per se. With Stephon Diggs being traded, the expectation was, Adam Thielen's going to get a ton of targets every single game. He had 8 targets in week 1 and 2. He only had 5 in this game though. And even still, Adam Thielen not getting 10 plus targets every single week just feels kind of weird, because of the fact that he is now the clear-cut number 1 option on this team. Now, luckily, he did get into the end zone this week, so he didn't kill you overall. He finished with 10.5 fantasy points. But I would just like to see more out of him. I don't really know what's up. I'll probably have to go through and watch some more tape on this game afterwards, admittedly. I just want to see what's up, right? Is it just that Kirk Cousins isn't looking his way, or is Thielen just being shadowed, or just being hyper covered, maybe even doubled? I really want to go through and watch the tape on this game just to see what's going on with Adam Thielen. But Justin fucking Jefferson, I talked about it in my Dynasty special. Justin Jefferson was my highest rated rookie wide receiver coming into the draft, and then leaving it and just watching more tape on guys. I did like a few other players better, but I was super high on Justin Jefferson. And the thing that really was weird about Justin Jefferson throughout the early parts of the season and even going back to training camp was that there were just a lot of mixed reports. There were some saying, oh, he's going to compete for the number 2 wide receiver on this team. And then also there were times where it's like he's not even the number 3. And it was just really, really bizarre for this first-round draft pick to have such mixed reports almost every single day coming out of camp. But finally, the breakout is here. 9 targets, 7 receptions for 175 yards and a touchdown. Again, he is the first Vikings wide receiver since Randy Moss to have 100 yards receiving in the first half of a football game and during his rookie season. I'm hoping that this does continue because I did feel like Justin Jefferson was the perfect replacement for Stephon Diggs. In fact, Justin Jefferson is actually even more similar to Adam Thielen in the sense of Justin Jefferson can play really well out of the slot, and he just kind of slithers his way through the defense right through the middle, and he just magically gets open every single chance he's able to. So Justin Jefferson moving forward, he's a guy that honestly, if he is on my waiver wire, I'm trying to pick him up right now because this is going to be a trend. This is just the beginning of it. And I am so glad that the breakout came because he was a guy who, like I said, I was really high on. And I feel like after the first 2 weeks, multiple people probably dropped him because he did not play well to open the season. So if he is on your waiver wire, he's a guy I'm absolutely trying to pick up right now, especially just because the way that the Vikings are now being 0-3, they're going to need to get wins somehow, some way. And if that means shifting more to a pass-first team, obviously they still have Dalvin Cook, and he's going to be super involved. But if they are just going to look to increase the passing volume just a little bit more, Justin Jefferson is going to be an absolute beneficiary of that. But I think that's going to do it for my Titans and Vikings game recap. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. We try to do this every single week for every single NFL game. You can also follow me on all social media platforms at FFVulture. And I think that's going to do it. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to check out this video. Remember, people come and go, but fantasy championships are forever, and I will see you in the next video.